I was really hyped for Kratos vs. Asura when it was announced for the Death Battle Kickstarter comeback lineup. I haven't played any God of War games, but Asura's Wrath is one of my favorite works of art ever, so even if it was a funny animated web show episode, I was super down for more Asura in my life. Not to mention, this episode came out on my birthday week, so I was a little extra excited. This is the most I've been excited for a new Death Battle since I got back into the series of Guts vs. Dimitri. I really thought it was going to be a new favorite episode of mine, and it was complicated. To be clear, I didn't care who was gonna win in the battle, I just wanted to see a great show of spectacle and characters, so don't expect me to debunk the power scaling in this video, even though it's very valid to enjoy the show from that perspective. I'm just gonna dissect the entertainment value and storytelling of the episode. So let's unpack my feelings on Kratos vs. Asura. The analysis segments were solid. Kratos' segment did get me interested in trying out the God of War games sometimes, though having to compress multiple games worth of character history made the pacing feel a bit rushed compared to Asura's. They still established the core traits for the character, so it still functions, but I wish I got a bit more from it. However, I'm very happy with how Asura's analysis was handled here. They used music from the game very smartly to perfectly hype up the big feats Asura can pull off, and they didn't oversimplify him as an angry man who punches gods, giving him the proper context of his anger being that of love. Now, before I get into what I liked and didn't about the fight, I want to talk about some concerns I had going into this matchup before I watched it. First, this was a fan-requested matchup long before God of War 2018 came out and reimagined Kratos as a character. A lot of the appeal for the matchup initially was based on the Greek God of War games, not the Norse games, and Asura still only had one game to his name. The connections were still there for a thematic fight. Hell, you could argue that the Norse games doing what they did made for a more interesting fight on Death Battle in the end, but there was a part of me that had this irrational itch that made me think the fight would work better if it was just Greek Kratos instead of Norse Kratos. Also, this fight is animated by Devil Artemis, who I respect a ton and has done great work on Death Battle, but something his previous fights have lacked to me is the impact of physical hits, which is kind of important for an angry guy punches things matchup. I still was excited to see what he could do, and he seemed really proud of what he did here on social media, so good for him. Speaking of, let's talk about that animation, because I've seen a lot of mixed opinions on it. I loved how it incorporated Asura's Wrath user interface touches, like with the title card showing new characters and forms as they appear, along with the burst icon near the beginning of the battle, which was a fun pop-off on my first viewing. I do wish the hits packed a bigger punch than they did, but the actual choreography was good enough to make up for it. Helps that the scale was appropriately massive, especially towards the end of the fight. The fight is overall fun, but my main problem comes with the ending of the fight, narratively speaking. Again, I don't care who wins or loses, and Asura loses this fight, but the way Kratos acts bugs me. There were some great character moments in between the punching about rage and family, so to see Kratos just not reflect on any of it while Asura's daughter mourns her father right in front of him just left a bad taste in my mouth. Especially with Asura's last words declaring he was never a monster. For a version of Kratos that's supposed to be more mature and reflective on his actions, I didn't get that from this ending, just this outward indifference with no thought. You could argue that this fight is Kratos slipping into his old angry ways once again, which I could see, but that just feels disrespectful to how much he's grown, which is shown earlier in the fight. I honestly think the surprise alternate ending was better, not because Asura won, but because it actually gave Kratos a moment to be reflective and get reunited with his family, which was just a more thematic and satisfying ending overall. I'd say I like Kratos vs. Asura, but it's still a significantly flawed episode and nowhere near my favorites like I wanted it to be. Though I'm still very happy this episode happened at all, and the love for Asura's Wrath will satisfy me until I eventually make another social media post asking Capcom and CyberConnect to do a port of the game to PC and modern consoles already. Come on, it's been over 10 years! Anyway, thanks for watching. I won't do Death Battle analysis / reviews all the time, I just wanted to talk about Kratos vs. Asura as a big Asura's Wrath fan. If I am gonna do another Death Battle video, it will be when Kamen Rider gets on the show.